Banana and Bears Rugby Pod.
You've deviated from your priesty kind of your you had
I'm a
you
bit more LGBTQ plus friendly priest now.
well I think they are kind of going that way. Well, beggars
Yes, that's
you
true.
you can't turn away a gift horse in the mouth and all the rest of it and everything
Yes.
else. But we were
Actually, that would
just
mean a lot. That would mean a lot to the LGBTQI plus community if the priests changed their white collar to a rainbow collar. That would mean a lot
I
to them.
suppose it would, but do you know what? I never was and I'll tell you why. And this, geez, I'm going to get fair controversial here now, right up the top. I get the
Jesus
rainbow
Christ.
thing, and
Has
there
the
you
podcast started?
it has, and I'm fair controversial here.
Right, go on.
I think um putting almost compressing something as big and whatever as important as the LGBT and all the rest of it into a flag that is already a flag. Do you know it was already the Care Bears had it. Do you know I get you have to have a logo to represent things, but for me, I'm kind of going, era we should have come up with something new. Do you know, for that scenario. You know what I mean? In a way, the Rainbow Nation was the South African thing. The rainbows were with the Care Bears. The leprechauns had the Care Bear or had the rainbows. Like, I think something new and more, poignant. Do you know, just like when Ireland's Call came out that time, like they went, we have to do something that makes them all inclusive. Like, you know what I mean? They wrote a new song. They got Feel Coulter. Not the strongest song, I would say, in the world, but gets the point across, and a lot of other nations do like it. But anyway, that's me. And Anna, when she came on the podcast first, she didn't have her typical owl one look at the at the screen. She had her code zipped up, like she was just after, or she was a curate. She hadn't actually qualified from an UT8. You were a
Yeah.
curate.
Mm.
But we were just
Yeah.
saying, like, you'd make a right good priest. I think you would anyway.
According to who?
Listeners,
according to the listeners. According to the community. But I'd
exactly.
say in the old book of things that tell priests how to behave. So probably wouldn't even though it depends which one you're reading.
You could, like you could be the first ever priest with a sponsorship from somebody like Budgie Smugglers. That'd be class. That that would.
Oh yeah, that would be class. No, I actually I like the priest idea, but honestly, like I'd prefer to be a nun.
Why? Because you like micros. What is it like? Like what?
No, I wouldn't drive a micra. Even though I'm nothing against a nun in a micra, but no, the nuns are just great crack. You know what it is all the nun propaganda that we had in secondary school. There was some good propaganda though. You know,
Yeah.
we go visiting places and like they'd show you a nice video of all the nuns, like, dancing with kids in Africa and stuff. You'd be like, oh, I want to be a nun.
Do you know what? I'd put you a nun. I'd make you a nun, right? But I think do you know the way they used to fray the ends of jeans in the 90s? It's probably popular to do it now again, but I'd fray the end of your habit, and maybe, I don't know, maybe put it like a studded thing up the middle of it, and then I'd have you driving a Ford Ranger, like a jacked up Ford Ranger, like just with all
Yeah.
the other nuns in it too, like listening to
Yeah.
Metallica going down the road, like.
Oh no, we'd be pure fucking Sister Mary Clarence, like
Oh yeah.
Sister Act.
Oh, you don't have
Yeah.
to tell me. I know Sister Act very well. It's what was okay? Pop question. Sister Mary Clarence. What was her real name? What was her name? Her character name in obviously was Whoopi Goldberg.
Dolores Van Cartier.
Is that your real name?
Yeah, Dolores.
Standout figure in that for me was Maggie Smith, not actually Whoopi Goldberg. But then Maggie, I'm a big fan of Maggie Smith anyway. But she was the
Yeah.
Dowager Countess in. For those listeners who are going, who the fuck? She was the old one in Downton Abbey.
Oh yeah, great actress.
Oh.
Or actor. I think the word actress doesn't
Actor,
exist
yeah,
anymore.
no, you're not. No, not actor. Although I think apparently somebody like her stood out and went, "No, I'm hanging on to actress if that's all right, please."
Yeah,
And
should you not let people do what they want? Do you know what's weird in France? So like, there's a I get really confused.
everything.
But everything is
Their
masculine or
dogs
feminine.
smoke fags.
But everything is masculine or feminine. All of the professions, like, for example, like the coach is entraîneur when it's a fucking man, and entraîneuse when it's a woman. But teacher is the only thing that doesn't have, like, you don't say professeuse, you say professeur for man or woman. And I hate making that mistake, so I just use the masculine all the time because they'd be laughing at you if you got it wrong, you know? So I just use the masculine all the time.
I imagine them laughing like French people with little moustaches.
Oh,
You
yeah.
silly
Oh,
Irish
yeah.
woman. They're no,
Yeah.
they're overcomplicating the scenario by putting in genders into language, into professions. What?
But sure, we do the same with actor and actress, waiter and waitress. Don't know why.
Oh,
But
yeah. Well, the Americans flattened that one by just going, "Hi, I'm your server," and I actually got that in a restaurant 2 weeks ago. The woman came over, she goes, "Hi, I'll be your server for the evening." I was like, that is the strangest introduction I've ever had.
come here, this is awful shy talk considering
It,
all of the rugby there is
I
to
know,
talk
I know,
about.
I know, I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. I'm first and foremost, how are you keeping? Are you well? You're back in La Rochelle,
Back in Rajland.
Rajland. Yeah, I almost said it.
Yeah, fuck. I had something to say there now at the beginning of the podcast and it's gone.
Was it rugby
Um,
related? I hope it was. No, you were saying like start recording, Tom. I've got good stuff to tell you about the weekend.
yeah, it's gone, whatever that is.
Did you get to play? Did you get back in this weekend?
No, we'd no match, sure. That's why I came home.
Oh yeah.
No, we'd no match. I was at home. Feck, whatever the feck I was going to say is gone. Sugar and it was good too. Anyway, oh no, sorry. I remember what it was. So, do you know, I always obviously have to choose a different name every week for this podcast.
Yes, yeah.
Today I am Fiona Reedy in praise of the wonderful Fiona Reedy who played her last game for UL Bows at the weekend. We'll get on to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I could have chosen any of the Irish girls. I also could have chosen Chisholm Aguero, who scored a hat-trick at the weekend. It was fucking unbelievable. But last week I was Fat Bastard. And I don't just do this podcast.
Yes.
I do many others.
Yes.
And all of the others are quite more serious. And
yes.
I swear to God, I was this close to signing into one of those quite serious podcasts last week with the name Fat Bastard.
Yes. One of these days we're going to catch it. We're going to catch it. You'll be Bowden Barrett or something. They go, what the who Bowden Barrett was? Oh yeah, Fat Bastard.
Alan Quinlan.
No, that would have been amazing. Because you do, yeah.
You signed in as Fat Bastard, I know.
You do. We'll give it a shout. You do the Left Wing podcast, which is fairly serious. That's very rugby.
Yeah.
They don't dick about.
I can't remember if it was Off the Ball or the Left Wing that I was like literally, because I was rushing to get onto it. I was like, go. It was, and I literally, like literally, the pressure had started on the minuscule neons of my hand to press OK for Fat Bastard.
I want to see in an alternative universe. I want to see how either anchors of either show deal with you coming in with a ridiculously brilliant comedic name like that.
Like Fat Bastard. They were like, oh, she's back again.
They wouldn't be able to deal with it. To be like, Anna, is that your name? Should we is that your whereas I'm howling already, waiting for you to come on so I can go, I want my baby back ribs.
It'd be so funny, like Sinead Cassandra, such a brilliant presenter, is like, so reviewing this week of the Six Nations, I'm joined by the wonderful Ali Donnelly and Fat Bastard, former Irish player.
Sorry, I just farted.
Sorry, I farted. Even though that would have been appropriate, obviously, for the Scottish team, which is why I chose Fat Bastard last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Fat Bastard, sorry, quick segue here. I sat next to Matthew Bastareaud when I played for Barbarians.
That can be taken one of two ways, but yes, go on.
I know, I'm not calling him a Fat Bastard. This is just his name, Bastareaud.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Nothing to do with the fact that he's an absolute tank.
Fat Bastareaud. Oh no, that's lousy. I have an awful flaw, right? So sorry, I know Matthew Bastareaud for a few years now. Like we'd send each other good luck messages and we chatted to each other loads the night. We had dinner in that night in Barbarians and like we spoke after we played and everything. I think I've seen him since. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. I have this awful flaw where if I feel like someone's looking at me, I won't look at them and I just look at the floor and I cycle on. I completely forgot. When I arrived back to La Rochelle yesterday, I cycled home from the airport, as you do in La Rochelle. And as I was cycling through the park, this rugby team passed, and I was like, oh, that must be whoever La Rochelle is playing tonight. I forget who it is. Cycled on, could feel these people looking at me like as I cycled through the middle of the team. Cycled on, and then I went to the match. I was like, oh, it's Toulon. I was like, sure, fucking my buddy is there. And I messaged him and I was like, oh my God, I would have seen you in the park today. He said, Anna, you cycled like right in front of me. I was like, no. I was like, why didn't you call me? He was like, yeah, sorry, I knew it was you and everything. And I was like, fuck's sake. Actually, I don't know. He might have called me because I looked around, but I was like really embarrassed then. I don't know. I just cycled on. So, do you know what? I also think that I may have seen Chris Martin up really close and I was too afraid to look and confirm once when I...
You mean of Coldplay fame?
Yeah. I went to Vienna to see Coldplay and there was like, I think it was Chris Martin like standing on a balcony like really close to me and I was too afraid to look. So
why would you be afraid?
I don't know. I don't know. I have a flaw.
Okay, we have to introduce you to some famous people, and just to see how you be. And we're going to break this. We're going to break this hoodoo that you have.
Yeah, it's not just famous people either. Do you know, it's like people might be looking. I'd want to know who it is, but I can't look at them. Do you know what I mean? People know what I'm talking about.
I know that's a very Irish thing, I think. But I fought over that now, and I think, but it makes people actually. You have to remember, it makes other people very comfortable, not uncomfortable. If you look at them and they double look and go, hello, it actually makes people like a fella I kept on running into. I ran into him today and he always said hello to me and I said hello to him, but I never knew his name and he knew my name. He was a Portuguese guy that works up the road in the petrol station. And he was and the guy, he does a similar thing. He kind of looks away like when you're handing in, I went, what's your name? And he says, Fabio. A good man, Fabio. You're doing a great job. And the guy just lit up. He just lit up. We shook hands and that was it. Do you know? So it was, you're as well to take control of the situation because you're, cool rugby player. Why not?
I know. Oh yeah, do you know what it is as well? Like, especially when I go home sometimes, like I don't know, I can't remember. Do you have to pass someone? It's like, do I know that person now or not?
Yes, I get that a lot here because a lot of people here haven't moved away, and I wasn't here since I was 17, and now they go, well, and I'm like, and now I think I've developed a good enough face where I go, hey, what's the crack? Do you know, kind of a thing? But for a while I was kind of going, oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, last week I was saying hello to people that I don't really know at all because they didn't say hello back to me. So I was like, oh, so I'm trying to get better, but then people don't say hello back. So I know. Yeah. I don't want to make them awkward. Do you know what I mean?
No. What did they turn around and go, who's this ignorant bitch saying hello to me all the time? Like, no. Anyway, we've been skirting around our fantastic weekend of rugby, and it is it's time to jump straight into it. Where did you watch it? Where did you get to watch the Ireland-Scotland match?
I'm no more good after the weekend, I tell you that much. I'm actually like, I feel like I've been on a 3-day bender and I wasn't even out. Sorry, I was out Saturday night briefly at Mallow Rugby's dinner dance. Because I didn't go to Belfast and I stayed at home. So I was able to go in and see all the Mallow heads on Saturday night. So Saturday I got to watch the match half at home and half at my friend's house. Which is probably a good distraction as well because I was actually an emotional wreck. Total emotional wreck. The match was shit enough, which is a shame because there would have been a lot of people watching it. There was a lot of people there. You know, it's a shame that just the match wasn't more entertaining. But fuck, it doesn't matter. The fact that we've qualified for a World Cup is pretty crazy. Like it's actually, now it was quite likely that we would have qualified for the World Cup anyway, but the fact that we did it now in the fashion we did is just
finished third.
Like if you told me before the tournament that this is how it was going to finish up, I wouldn't have believed you. Do you know, I just didn't think. Do you know what? I thought the other teams would be better. Not to take away from how good we were, but I thought, like, I did think Italy would be better. I think Scotland were good and they just didn't play well against us because I called it. They're afraid of us.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of us in Belfast. And that fixture like brought on a lot of the same feelings from the last time, I reckon, when they lost in Belfast, but in the last minute to Ireland. But it's just funny, like the teams between third and sixth, there's so little between them.
Yeah.
And for Ireland to have come out on the top of that group of, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is unreal. Like, fucking fair play. I'm delighted for the girls. Like I say, they had a fucking whopper night out in Belfast. Like, and they fucking deserve it as well. Like, it's huge to go from the last World Cup in 2017, where the wheels came off the wagon and they haven't gone back on since. Like, is this the first kind of step towards putting the fucking wheels back on the wagon? Now, it's not going to be easy either because we've also completely leapfrogged WXV2 and we're in WXV1. I know it's where we want to be, but it's fucking hard. Like, I think WXV2 might have been better prep for a Six Nations before a World Cup. But hey ho, here the fuck we are because we finished on top, and that's only a good thing. So
it is. Sometimes though, you jump 2 weight categories, like, and I'm sure there's an old proverb to say, like, it's a great, like, there's nothing like fucking a desperation to focus the mind, like it would almost been, do you know when you're kind of, you have this, the path of least resistance. Now, not that WXV1 would have been, or 2 would have been less, but there certainly would have been a kind of a, oh, we can do this. I think there's no harm in kind of going WXV1. Fuck it. Even if you're nervous, go, well, to shit or bust, girls. Tis fucking shit or bust. We get after it. And if the IRFU can hopefully, get in behind that and go, all right, we're in the World Cup. We have to show face. We can't go going out in a blaze of glory. We have to show face. So what do we need? Roundtable discussion. Sit down. What do we need? Moolah, please. Anything else, facilities, whatever they need, throw it at it. Because we don't have another World Cup to the men's one either, on the other side of it. So it's got to be their focus now. But what a focus to have, not just hey, I think we've improved. I think they've actually marketably improved. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. They finished, they finished third. They've jumped 2 weight classes, shall we say, into the top, and now they're going to go to the World Cup. Jesus Christ, this is winner chicken dinner. If you offer that to the coaches or any of the players beforehand, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I think there probably was a plan in place, or a loose plan in place, that if this did happen, all right, time to open up the sealed envelope and see what our next mission is.
Yeah. They've got to fucking, now the kind of difficult thing is that, like, I was saying last week, I was like, who is it that's going to be starting their World Cup prep on Monday? Like, Monday morning into the office, fuck, here we go. Who was it going to be? I knew it could have been Ireland, but I didn't think it would all work out. I just was like, oh no, it's kind of too much. I wasn't sure that we would get it, but now here we are. So the difficult thing is that, first of all, there's an Olympics coming up. That'll take precedent in signing, the RFU, because there's a good chance that the Sevens girls will do well. You don't want to lose time with that as well now either, like, because the thing is, you're fucking playing with the big dogs now. It's interesting because I thought, as did many others, that Wales would come into this Six Nations fucking good because they'd been kicking it with the big dogs in WXV1. They weren't. They were shite. They're worse than they've ever been in the last couple of years.
Was that as a result of it, do you think? Do you think it, knocked them back a bit? But I mean,
didn't help. Definitely didn't help. So that's actually a valuable learning for Ireland.
Yes.
We're lucky that Wales went through that, actually, like, and they were the first ones in the kind of baptism of fire. We can't let the same thing happen. So, I actually said this on the Left Wing this morning, like, if you're last week, looking at the England game, it was kind of fucking pointless reviewing the England game before going into Scotland because it was just so streets ahead, different ball game altogether. But now that's they're in our group, or they will potentially be playing them. If not, they're the kind of styles of teams we'll be playing. Like fucking no one's as good as England. Let's remind ourselves of that. But WXV1, like that's it, the step up is going to be fucking huge. Australia have really kicked on, like New Zealand are brilliant. Ireland never get to play New Zealand. No, that's what I'm kind of excited about. I hope we get to play them because you don't get to play everybody in the circuit. But I'd love to play New Zealand again because the last time we've only played them once in Test rugby, and that was in the 2014 World Cup when we beat them. So they owe us one, so that'll be fucking tough for the Irish girls. But like, it'll also be the game probably in WXV1 where Ireland will be classed as like, the lowest ranked. Probably your easy game to like change up your couple of players. So, let's see. Like, head down now and do the work. They've got to sort the line out.
Yes. Like, yeah. They got a handle on their maul. In all fairness, it looked very organised when they went in over for a try one. It looked very, very tight. Like they all looked tight as a drum, and Scotland couldn't live with it. But the line out,
the line out is so high risk. Like with a boot like Dan O'Brien, all you want to do is like kick to the corner, drive and maul. But there's just at the moment like no guarantee that you're securing that ball. So like that's got to change. Like they've got to fucking get Paul O'Connell in there. Like Paul O'Connell, he's obviously going on that South Africa tour. When's that happening? Like when can we book him in? I say that it's not like Ireland men's fucking line out has been anything too superb. Like, but who are you going to get to help with this now? Because they need help.
My first phone call would be to Victor Matfield. He's a touring scrum or line-out guru. He'll pop in for a week, and Victor Matfield. I mean, who are you going to learn off? Like Jesus Christ, it'll be okay if Victor shows up for a week and says, "All right," and at least he, somebody like that would put a good base in, like, and go, "All right, this is what you need." You have to be at the 70-80% mark of winning your own. You can't be going in there 50-50s, like.
No, 100%. And as well. It's not just the players that need it, it's the coaches that need the fucking help as well. And you're doing a workshop with him. The only thing about someone like Victor Matfield now, I wonder has he worked much with any women's teams, because I don't know, did I talk to you about this before, about fucking like the notion of having to apply what exists in men's rugby to the women's game, and like big hefty like second rows in the girls' game, like being lifted by small back rows.
Yeah. Okay. So the power to weight ratio is different than
Yeah, and like men's coaches, and Jesus, we did it in Ireland for years. Like me, small back row lifting, big second rows who are way heavier than me. I'm not as strong as them. Like if you swap us around, we're the same fucking height at full extension. We just get there a bit quicker.
Yes.
But like they're still doing it in Ireland. They're actually still making that same mistake, where you need to have your small back rows jumping and the taller girls as the back lifter.
Well, it's the same, as you said, it's the same height. It's the same finished height.
Same height, when you get there quicker, and actually she could probably throw me. I'd actually probably get a few inches, whereas I wouldn't be able to throw her.
Well, it's the Peter O'Mahony effect, isn't it? He was always kind of a light number 6, like.
100%, but that's the shit that comes with male-only coaches, because they've never had to think about that, because all of the players are strong enough to get each other up.
Well, I wonder because I only say him because I'd heard tell that he's basically a magician at every nuance of it. He revolutionized Portugal that time. Remember Portugal, that amazing try they scored at the World Cup? That was all him apparently. Like, so I mean, book him in. Book him in, give him a week-long gig with a workshop with him. But as you said, like, basic skills they need time with their basic skills, because I'm my jaw was on the fucking table watching England last week, and the rocket passing. A simple hands, that's all, out the back. But none of this lumpy stuff where you're just fucking it like a spud. It was these bullet passes, like,
But what's shit as well is that if you look at the Premiership and the England girls, they're all going back to their clubs now. So they'll all go back to Quinn, Saracens, Loughborough, all the rest. They all get to go back to their clubs. Or any of the Irish girls, or most of the Scottish girls, they're all getting to go back and continue the rest of their season. The AIL is fucking finished.
Yeah.
There's no domestic rugby. It's bonkers. It's crazy. Obviously, like, this is a big thing like that, you know, that was a big hot topic this week because the AIL final was on Sunday. And, like, number one, it's very disappointing that the best, like, players in the country aren't getting to play in the domestic league. Why can't we watch them, like, pip against each other? And that should be, do you know, imagine if you had Dan O'Brien now running out in the Aviva. I'm just using her as an example.
Yeah.
Aoife Wafer. Imagine how many more people would come and watch that now because they know Aoife Wafer. They'd love to see her play for her club. Do you know?
That's a
things
really
like that.
valid point. I didn't
Also,
push it out by even a few weeks, another month. Just drag it out another month. And
yeah.
They wrapped up all the finals this weekend. Yeah,
everything. But also, you were there talking about skills. Their decision making was fucking poor. If you're the more rugby you play, and now the RFU have been guilty of this before because we used to get pulled out of games to go into camp, and it just blew my mind that you'd pass up the opportunity. It's still happening. Pass up the opportunity to play a rugby match for your club, to go into camp and train. You cannot replicate what you do and what you learn in a game, like the amount of scenarios you come across. Let's talk about the Premiership here now for a second. Like the RFU, so the people who are in charge of women's rugby in England, they're also in charge of the domestic league. If you've got a player, you know, if you're the coach of England and you've got a player who's poor at decision making, you go and talk to her club coach and you say, what's the story there? Is she getting her go at leadership? Is she speaking up in training? What can we do to help? Like, there's that direct link with the coach of the national team to the coach of the club. Like, the coach of the national team can, like, this happened at Gloucester.
Which doesn't ironically doesn't happen in the men's game in England, but that's brilliant that it happens in the women's game.
Oh, yeah. It's completely founded for the success of the national team. And then what do you get on the other side of it is a brilliant fucking domestic league.
Wow.
And, like, if you know, they can get in touch and be like, she's playing back row, but actually we need her as a second row for England. So sorry, you're just going to have to play her as a second row.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it's not, you know, the clubs don't have all the say there. I suppose scenario-wise, if you've injuries, they'll understand. But actually, you know, the clubs are there. They're designed to build the international team. And actually, Ali Donnelly said this morning, which was really interesting. England is now the first country, surprise, this isn't a surprise, who have started to make money from the women's game. It's now starting to come back. Duh, we knew it fucking would. So hard for people to believe you because no one wants to invest in the women's game. People will throw money at the men's game without a second thought of it coming back around, back into your pocket, but they won't do that for the women's game. Well, for whatever reason, there's a million reasons why, but they won't do it. It is now that the money has now started to come back for the Red Roses, and it's only starting to grow. Like, the stadium wasn't even full. It's getting fuller and fuller. It's getting bigger and bigger, more merch, more everything, because they started this a few years ago. Do you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, a few years ago, it was only 2017 that they started, they got their first professional contracts. Like, it's not really that long ago. But that was in preparation for that 2017 World Cup. I just think the AIL is such a wasted gem. And I know, like, I feel like people are like, oh, Anna, going on about the AIL again because they've decided that they're not going to use the AIL. But, like, I can't not say how I feel, and especially having watched the brilliant game on Sunday, and watching how the Irish girls don't have enough game time. It blows my mind. Like, why the fuck? We have the makings of, it already exists here, the makings of the Premiership in England.
Yeah.
So it exists.
Yeah.
10 clubs ready to go. It's not, we're not like Wales. Wales are like, we need a domestic league. We have it and we're squandering it. They don't have it in Scotland. We're in this fucking Celtic Cup, which other countries are using to blood young players. We're using it as Six Nations prep. It's not enough. It's not enough. Like fucking up. Get the AIL, and apparently it's not going to go this way. But I won't like just because they've said it's. Well, they haven't actually confirmed what the plan is. But like, if it was me now, I'd fucking get everyone back into the AIL. Get the coaches upscaled, get access to the gym for everyone. Like, there's enough fucking S&Cs, physios, everything for all that. The quality of coaching is not good enough across the country. What are you going to do about that? Like, how do you get, like, where are you going to get the coaches from? Like, how do you make sure that, like, we're not fucking wasting more time? It's like biting the hand that feeds you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the fucking... How do you find a talented young player in Ireland in the AIL? So if you say talented, that means that next year she'll be taken out of the AIL and put in to camp. That makes no sense. It exists. Like what the Premiership has achieved. And people be like, oh yeah, but there's too many weak teams, at the bottom of the AIL. There's weak teams in the fucking Prem. Leicester Tigers, Sale Sharks, they're all struggling at the bottom, but that's what happens in a league. Yeah. And look at the fucking quality of players that it's still producing. Do you know, like it fucking...
It's a monster you have to feed but the monster brings everything. It rising tide and all the rest rises all ships. Like the national team bringing it up puts more eyes on it, puts more girls out playing, and Leicester and Sharks and all the rest will come up eventually as a result of more popularity with it. Like we were at Rugby Tots at the weekend, and so good. It's so good. Like to see how intense he is. Like it's so funny. Like I was kind of going to my wife. I was like, "Where's he getting this intensity from?" She just kind of looked at me. She's like, "Really, really, really?" It's like I'm not. She goes, "Jesus Christ! Look at like." He takes it so serious. But what was great but he's very like one kid started crying because it was his first time. He was bawling his eyes out and he was over. But it was pure rugby moment. He walked over and put his arm around him. He's going to be okay. And he gave him his ball. They're spongy balls that they have because they're only tiny, like. And the kid was like, well, fuck it. And then a little girl came over and we kind of coupled in with the scenario going, it's going to be great. It's brilliant. And it's just the sassiest little thing you've ever seen. But it was like, this is, see, from here up, if we can put it, just track that the whole way through. So you have the little boy and the girl and the other boy, just bring him on. And it was like, well, this is what it's supposed to be. And it was 50-50. There was as many girls as there was boys playing.
Yeah.
And they're running around as mad as lorries. And you score a try by cracking your dinosaur egg. That's what it's called. You crack your dinosaur egg, score a try.
So cute. Do you sit on the ball, is it?
Yeah. Well, no, you can crack it with your hands, but then you can sit on the ball to squish your dinosaur egg.
I've seen that. That's so cute.
It's adorable.
But like the thing is, in a lot of clubs, like you're saying 50-50, like girls and boys, eventually the opportunities stop for the girls.
Yeah.
And they continue for the boys. Like if you look at, I always, and I'm sure I've spoken about this in this podcast before, but I always use Peter O'Mahony as an example because we're like the same age. We're both from Cork. He started when he was 5. I started when I was 17. Both taking the first opportunity that was presented to us to play.
Wow. Yeah. Jesus.
And, and he doesn't just start at 5 and he's in and out. Like the pathway is golden,
Oh, like yeah. Yeah.
5, under 5s, under 7s, 8s, 10s, 12s, 14s, 15s. Eventually he's in schoolboys rugby, like gyms, S&C, full-time fucking, like an academy set up almost from, your teenage years. I actually, I was trying to the lads from Mallow, like, who were in junior J1, which is a level below AIL. Like there's a Munster juniors team, and there's...
That's right, there's a Munster, like, so there's a collective for anybody wondering. There's just like regular Munster. There's a junior Munster, which junior clubs.
There's clubs, schools, under 20s, under 19s, under 18s. Like the breakdown is there are so many Munster teams, and that's just Munster. For the women, there's Munster under-18s and Munster senior.
Wow.
Full stop.
Yeah.
That's it. So, you were saying there's 50% boys and 50% girls. That falls away fucking quickly. Unless, like all of a sudden it'll take, you go back to school 1 year and all of a sudden there's no rugby team. So everyone's gone to GA and then that's it.
Yeah.
That girl might never come back to football. So, or come back to rugby. So, there's, that's got to, those holes have got to be plugged as well. Massively. When you're relying on volunteers and,
it starts, it has to start commercially, it has to start at the top. Do you know what I mean? Because, we need it from grassroots, but your grassroots without the actual, I suppose without the almost the permission of up the top at the RFU head offices where they make us, somebody kicks in the door and says, all right, this women's thing is taking off. I feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got to throw in behind this.
That's fucking, what year was it? I'd say it was it was when David Nucifora came into the studio to discuss. Do you remember in 2017? Maybe you don't, when the sevens players were pulled out of the Six Nations halfway through the tournament to go to Atlanta. Sene, Hannah, and who was the other one? Emer. Oh no. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Sorry, I've completely forgotten who that is, even though I definitely know who that is really well. They were pulled out of Six Nations to go and play in Atlanta. And there was this big question around what's going on here? Why is sevens being prioritized? And David Nucifora came into the studio so they could have a big open conversation. I remember him saying the girls were saying what you were saying there now, you've got to do work at the top, and you've got to make sure that young girls can see that the 15s game is valued in this country. And he was like, yeah, but you have to start at the bottom. And fine, you might have different opinions on where you should start, but fucking start.
Yeah.
You have to start at the bottom. If you knew that was the case then in 2000, that was 2017 Six Nations. That was 2017. Where did you start? What fucking start? Fucking start. Where there's so much gone on since. And there's been all these strategies and things missed. All the targets were missed, but a lot of plans that were never shared, a lot of plans that were shared that were never, a lot of miscommunication. Ali Donnelly again, this was all today. We've just been talking about rugby all day, but she just, made such a great point about this has to be transparent. Just let us know what's happening.
Do you know what has happened to the women's game? Because I know I've definitely said this on the podcast before, but I can remember as vividly as could be. I was after doing a show in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and I walked down to the Three Sisters because there's no better bar to watch a sporting event in, and they had a whole huge screen out the side because Ireland were playing New Zealand. And by Jesus Christ, this is 2013-14. We lost our fucking bananas. Went buck wild. And in your head, you're like, well, we're going to be the greatest in the world after this, aren't we? What reminds me of nearly the way, for whatever fucking reason, I cannot wrap my head around when you already have one side of the union flying it on an upward trajectory, why the women's would fall off. It reminds me nearly how the Welsh men's game fell apart. Do you know, you weren't watching, if you want a fucking shop, you have to be out front of house in the fucking shop. You have to be, you need to know what's on every fucking shelf and what's been ordered. You can't just wander off down the back of the shop and go, I'd say it'll be grand. Do you know what I mean? And that seems to be what happened. It looks after itself, this thing.
But you know why? It's because nobody had robbed the shop before. So why would you start looking at it now?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's that success came quite cheaply to the IRFU because there was just such an unbelievable cohort of players. I would credit there's a lot of UL Bows players on that at the time. UL Bows were a very successful team at the time. Very well coached, Causey, who's now at Munster. Ian Costello did a lot of coaching of that side, and they were just serious quality. They brought it straight into Ireland, and that came, the IRFU didn't have to do too much. They did a bit, they did support the women's game on various fronts, but it was basically Jesus, they're after winning the Grand Slam there now. let's just continue what we're doing, which is not what everybody else did. Everyone else ramped it up. I say everyone else, I mean England, France, etc. And when success comes cheaply, that's kind of like what happens in New Zealand rugby. Like New Zealand keep winning World Cups, so New Zealand NZRU doesn't have to do much different because it's, again, the success came very cheaply to them, so they get stuck in a rut then. But they've given out professional contracts now. They've announced a new batch of professional contracts there the other day. Their program looks really good, but people are starting to recognize the change. Like the minimal effort just doesn't fucking cut it anymore. And
Nope.
Unfortunately, it took us way too long to figure that out.
But look,
so
there seems to be the crack in the safe door seems to have cracked open slightly. There's a chink of light coming through, and we can only hope that they've learned from the mistakes of hoping that the fucking horse would feed itself, which it didn't. It died in the stable, and we've a new
came back
horse.
from it. Jesus, the horse is dead. He's coming over like kicking the horse. Oh fuck!
Fuck! What man's gonna kill us?
Replace it quick. Don't tell anyone. Replace it with a Shetland
Wait.
pony.
Hold on, did it have a white thing on its nose? Oh Christ! We buried the old
Replace
horse.
it.
Dig it back up, and we'll get a photograph. Mem's gonna kill us.
Right. Do you ever hear that story of, was it what was that show called, The School Around the Corner?
Oh yes, yeah.
And
With
there
Jerry
was
Ryan, yeah.
and there was the kid. This is the really old version with even the older presenter dude, and he was saying, so maybe it wasn't School Around the Corner. I don't know. A horse had died at a race, and the kid was telling the story. He was like, "Oh, and they had to dig a hole and put the horse in it, and they had to shoot the horse." And he was telling the story. The kid, he was like, "No way! And did they shoot him in the hole?" He was like, "No, they shot him in the head."
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
Can I tell a quick sorry, I know this has been me ranting now, but I have an awful lot of pent up emotion after the weekend.
Good.
Last World Cup, right? So after we failed to qualify for the last World Cup, everyone at home, everyone in Ireland was like just pretending that the World Cup wasn't happening. Like we all were just trying to ignore it. But I announced my retirement. I'd left Gloucester. I was like, fuck, I want to go traveling. I knew a lot of girls playing at the World Cup. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go to the World Cup because I know that for me, like I think it'll be important. I think I need to go. And anyway, I went, had an unbelievable time in New Zealand at the World Cup. It was very emotional as well, like Ireland not being there. And there was one event I went to, which was really cool. Like they invited all of the local like women's coaches, or if you're involved in women's rugby, to like a dinner. It was after the semi-finals, so everyone was dying of a hangover. And it was really cool. They had all like speakers, like they had the New Zealand coaches in, and you could ask them all the questions. They had a load of referees in, and you could ask them a load of questions. And one of the talks was that each of the countries brought an intern coach, and they were all there, and they all got to kind of tell their story, and people asked questions. So each country had was represented. And someone asked a question of them saying, "What's your dream?" Like very simple, like, "What's your dream?" And the first girl like took the microphone as a South African intern coach, and she was like, and she was thinking about it. She could see she was starting to get emotional, and everyone was like, "Go on, like, you can say it, go big." And she was starting to get emotional. She said, "I want to be head coach of my national team." And like she's crying, and people start crying, and it goes on, and the whole room is fucking bawling, crying. Like the Italian coach, who couldn't speak English, said her piece and then gave the microphone to her interpreter, who could get the words out because he was crying so much. And like because everyone knows what this means, like everyone's there, they all know what to. And at the end of it all, and everyone's floods of tears, everyone's like coming around. The MC was like, "We actually do have someone from another country here who actually aren't at this World Cup. Anna, what's your dream for Irish rugby?"
Yeah.
Came down and handed me the microphone. And I couldn't speak. And I could hear everyone sobbing because everyone knew, what it meant.
Yeah.
And the fact that Ireland wasn't there. And like I was the only Irish person in the room because fucking obviously nobody else was there, at that moment anyway. There were very few Irish people at the World Cup anyway. supporters, I mean, obviously. And I just was like, could barely get the words out, and like just basically said, like, Ireland has to be at this. Like, this is such a life-changing thing to be at a World Cup, and it just being in this room now just shows like what women's rugby means to people and how big it's about to get, and how amazing this is for every player, every coach, every person that's here. Like, it's, you know, only the people in this room can understand it. And the fact that Ireland is not here just breaks my heart. And my dream is that, you know, the right things are done in Irish rugby, that there's good people involved, that the wrongs are righted, and that Ireland is at the next World Cup. And the whole room's bawling, crying, like, big applause, everyone coming up to give me hugs, and everyone like, okay, we know, like, we understand what you're saying, and we can't believe Ireland's not here either. So it was just a fucking, like, I keep thinking about that day and how now that has been resolved and realized, and that was my dream then, and that it's actually fucking gonna happen. I can't fucking believe it.
It's amazing. Do you know what? A raw moment and on a scenario like that would have been incredible. Shot candidly. You know what I mean? I hate saying this, like, but the likes of that needs to be out there. And I'm not a content creator or anything, but that the honesty and the emotion in that, the rawness of that, where the entire room, you have people who can't even speak the language are bawling crying. Do you know what I mean? Going, well, it's, you know, that would have been that in itself is a selling point of going, right, let's get this show on the road. This has to be,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? This
Yeah.
has to happen. It just has to happen. Like,
yeah.
there was, it just doesn't make any sense. And I don't know what the stopping block is. Like if you can, if not now everybody's entitled to where money goes and everything else, but if 300,000 euros can be found among the four nations, but obviously Leinster, for 6 months of Bowden Barrett, is he going to sell 300,000 euros worth of tickets? He's fucking not. Now, I mean, you can say, okay, but it's never a bad thing to sign a Barrett. Never a bad thing for any length of time. Like, it's never going to be a bad thing. But at the same time, like, even I listened to Lucas Sterling, he's like, that was a misappropriation of funds if ever. That was more or less what he was saying. He's, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
you would have racked up three good players for that, you know?
Yeah.
Or
100%.
it could be used somewhere else. Like, 300,000 is just, for the love of Jesus. No fault on the man or on anybody. But for that to go through and go, work away with that, rather than going, what the fuck are you doing? You haven't spent a bean on your women's team. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put 50 grand into your women's team and find somebody for 250. If that's what you need to do, you'll find somebody class.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It seemed a strange place to put funds. And I'm not just picking out that. It's a general thing of what I'm saying is there's moolah there, like there's definitely money there, like, you know.
We're always made to believe that there isn't.
Oh, for Christ's sake, there is. There is.
Yeah. No, you're right. Jesus Christ. Like, sorry, what was that figure? 300,000 for 6 months. Like, the contracts that the players are on, that would cover most of the fucking team for a year.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm bad at maths here now, but I could almost say that would cover all the team for a year at what they're currently on.
Yeah. So, like, when you compare it like that,
I'm sorry, like, Leinster is selling out. This isn't a publicity stunt. Like, Leinster already have a very, they're already very popular, very secure fan base, and quite successful. Like,
nobody can understand it. When you have former Leinster players who are Leinster to their bones, look, going, I don't get it. There's loads of class. Like, where are you gonna put him in the back line on a big day in Europe? Where are you gonna put him?
Do you know what? I didn't think about this too much because I feel like it was just kind of part of the whole. There were so many weird announcements. I just kind of got tired of like putting my head into it because, like, the the RG Snyman thing has just really upset me still.
I know.
So,
I know.
you
And
know, when I heard that, I was like, more of that shite. But actually, now that you put it like that, I'm like, oh,
it's kind of showboating a small bit. You're like,
yeah,
do you know, you've already got a dress on. Why are you putting another fucking dress on? You know,
yeah,
what,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like Barrett, like I, it was there when I heard the Wonga they were talking about. I went, oh Jesus Christ! Like, I thought he was coming for a jolly 100K to get him over. And it's like 300
And it's
fucking thousand for half a season. Jesus.
fucking hell. And actually, the reason I don't think about those things too much is they make me angry and they make me upset.
I
So I
know.
don't
I know.
like, you know,
But I
there's
have to
nothing I
look.
can do
I
about
have to look at the facts of it. I have to dig down in. For me, I have to look at the why. The why. Like, I don't know the why,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but the reasoning means that you got to pay that to get that guy when you didn't need that guy. You've got a team full of superstars. Do you know what I mean? Who, like, they're all household names you have in the back line. Who the fuck are you going to? But anyway,
yeah,
I mean, that aside, that was my point to say that the money's there.
mm,
Now, yes, Leinster are very wealthy. There's no doubt, but the money is there. Let's, so if all you did was put 50 grand towards it, Jesus Christ Almighty, you'd put
yeah,
50, in that
yeah,
position, you'd put 50 grand, be nothing to you, just to
yeah,
put it into, it'll be money well spent
yeah, yeah.
because I just don't know how you turn your back on, as I said this series and series ago, how you turn your back on 50%. Guinness were genius in how they've gotten women drinking Guinness. And they're not the first people to do it. Many more companies saw that women weren't taking part. It's like the cigarette companies. Men only smoke cigarettes. And they went, no,
Mm,
no, 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 no. Let's put a long little yoke on it, make it
mm,
more ladylike. And now women are smoking fags. Do you know
mm,
what I'm not saying we gotta
yeah,
get people addicted to rugby,
yeah,
but there are means and ways of going about things. And to leave that on the table it's way too much meat in the bone, I think. And it'd be
mm,
madness. Now that we have the carrot of the World Cup ahead of
yeah,
us,
yeah.
let's not get silly, you
It's
know?
going to be tough as well now. It's going to be tough. I hope, do you know, but what I've seen as well is kind of like a change in, you know, it used to be that any post from Irish rugby about the women's team, there'd just be reams of abuse. Like, no one
Mm,
cared. Yeah, they're fucking shit anyway. Like, and you know, people are always giving out to me for like, don't be paying attention to people online. I'm like, yeah, but they're not just trolls. Like, they are people who are in clubs and teams and communities and schools and workplaces. Like, that has changed. I've seen, like, if you
yeah.
go look at the qualified post that Irish Rugby put up,
Yes.
you know, everyone's like, well, make sure to get the right investment now, and like, you better back them. This is great. Like, one, the girls, like, so much more positivity. Like, people are very aware of, like, you know, the fact that you've got to say these things now to kind of drown out the fucking haters. And I've seen that change. I've seen that change, like,
But
online,
they've
especially.
been brilliant, much better this year than every other year. Whoever's on their social media, and I think there's still more that can be done. But like
But yeah, sorry.
I have an alert on Instagram. Now it
Yeah.
can be annoying sometimes because you're like, okay, I don't need to know about every time Peter O'Mahony takes a swig of water or whatever. But it's an alert every time they make a post, as
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
it comes through almost like on your inbox or whatever. But
Yeah.
like there was as many nearly for the women,
Mm,
training week, game day, team announcement, and all the rest. You're like, oh,
mm.
fucking great, and it keeps you tied in.
It does. It fucking does. It's easier to do that now that they've got their separate window. But like, then it doubles the content they're putting out. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually genius. What I will say about the Irish Rugby website, which I haven't seen on the others, um, maybe England. I must have a closer look at England's actually. But on on Wales, for example, because I was going through all the websites, but Wales, for example, is Wales Rugby and then Women's Wales Rugby.
Oh,
On Ireland's, it's like men, women. I know that seems like a very small thing, but it's not.
no.
That's a big deal, because for so long it's just been like rugby news, women's rugby news. That's not how it fucking works. It's men's rugby news and women's rugby news. And if you want rugby news, you'll get both.
Well,
Do you
isn't that
know?
what we doesn't that tie up the podcast in a lovely bow altogether, bringing it all back to how the French we were talking about the genders for different things. You're getting really good at this fucking storytelling stuff.
That
Ve-
was very intentional.
That was very, very well done. That was
We didn't. Well, we didn't talk about Bows winning the AIL. But,
no. Sorry, we haven't wrapped it up completely yet. Yes, Bows beat Railway.
Yeah. I've shied it on enough now, and people be trying to listen to me. But Bows won the AIL for the first time in. God, I actually don't know how long the gap was, but for the first time in a few years, most successful AIL club ever. But they finally brought the AIL Cup back down to Limerick. I must actually send you. I wrote a piece a few years ago. Our club song for UL Bows is well, we've quite a few club songs, but the women's team specifically, we always sing Sloop John B.
Oh yeah.
And you know the last line of it is, well, when the Beach Boys sing it is, "This is the worst trip I've ever been on." We always sing, "This is the best trip I've ever been on." So I wrote a piece a few years ago about this is the best trip I've ever been on. I must send it to you. I actually need to post it again because it's fucking hilarious. But the AIL Cup is really wide brimmed. So and you'll be passing around the cup to drink out of it, and like all the straws are floating around in it. So everyone has to dip their paws into the fucking thing to
It's
to
like the
take
Sam
a
Maguire,
sip.
isn't it? It's fucking huge.
Oh yeah. Everyone's fucking dirty paws be going into it. Like so, I was saying this fucking spread of the consumption be back to Limerick now. With the success of UL Bows taking off again.
I saw
Because
I
everyone's
saw
going into the cup.
Peter Clossey's daughter. Peter Clossey loves just sewing it into his sons. Every time, like she comes running over with the cup or whatever, and he's like, the apple, the apple slipped past the two boys. Fair play to my amazing daughter. It's like,
Oh, very good.
it's just,
Very good.
it's such a kick in the nuts. It's like, well, tis what it is. But being him, of course, is brilliant. Do you know?
Yeah. They had a supporters bus as well. Apparently, he was singing a few songs in it.
Of
It looked
course.
like fucking great crack. I had
Oh,
ridiculous FOMO, but I had to work today, so I couldn't fucking stay. So yeah,
Corkon won the men's, did they?
they did. Yeah, it was very good. The
Yeah.
the men's final. They beat Terranure, and Terranure won last year. Did you see that try-saving tackle in the corner?
Yes, yeah.
Fuck.
But I mean, it
That was
goes back to what you were talking about that Gail Gorda was saying. You need to start watching the AIL. There's players in that just haven't gotten the break. And you think a sport has been this meritocracy, like you go, well, the best should make it. Well, much like the arts industry and stuff like that, you can get unlucky and not just be you not fit the eye of the coach or not fit the eye of in my field would be a producer or an agency. Go, we got too many white guys from Tipperary, or that. But the same thing, you go, you're very like the guy we already have. So I don't know what to tell you, son. But he
yeah.
could be marginally better, or she could be marginally better, and
Yeah,
it's
you just didn't play well that day, or you weren't. Yeah, it's 100%, and like all about giving second chances to players, and that's through the AIL. So
yeah,
like, it needs to flow better, but they need to come and watch the games, and yeah, fucking, it was a brilliant game. Yeah, very good, great
speaking
day.
of, yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, just saying it's just a shame that they couldn't get more people into the Aviva. Like it should be a bigger event, but like if you had Irish women's players involved, like it would be.
Of course it would. Of course it would.
Yeah.
Speaking of, well, first we'll speak of a very surprising, and I said it. I would be very interested in your thoughts that Leinster come away with two bad wins before we talk about two bad wins out of South Africa, or bad losses, I should say, out of South Africa. Like they took a fucking hiding last weekend against
Yeah.
the Stormers.
Yeah.
I will say I'm not happy for that Leinster took a hiding, but I'm not sad about it either. But at the same time, my most enjoyable, I want people to go and watch the highlights of that match and see, if you're a long-term listener to this podcast, where my favorite moment was of that entire game. It's really easy to find. It's right at the very beginning when Manny Libok takes the kick off and kicks it 4 meters straight up into the fucking air. Like he can't even get.
I actually heard Manny Libok's name on something that he had fucked up somewhere. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was so happy. I was like, yeah, Manny, you bollocks, yeah, absolute bollocks. Now he played unbelievable for the rest of the match. Like, I mean, but I was just so happy. I went, yeah, you're a bollocks. But I'm wondering, like, what you come off 2 losses. Yes, okay, most of them are none of those lads are going to play in the Champions Cup. but you're not exactly bouncing back in around training in UCD or whatever, going,
Yeah.
lads, what's the crack? You just took a whole kicking. And now you're going to bounce back in, and the lads haven't played, the senior lads or the first team lads haven't played a game in 3 weeks. And they've got Northampton looking down the pipe, who've been in the Premiership. Do you know?
You know, though, like a fucking 2 week trip to South Africa, would you be fucking wrecked?
I suppose, but
Oh,
fucking
it's so
hell.
hard to know. Do you know, there's only one way to find out if it worked, and that's if they win.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah,
If they
yeah,
lose, it will have been the wrong decision. If they win, it will have been the right decision.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Again, and we've seen this movie before with Munster. They came the exact same carbon copy as last year. Oh, you got all your players back. Turns out you're class. Turns out you're out. Oh, Zima Zebo's finished. No, he's not. He looked unbelievable at the weekend. The defensive masterclass for anybody who ever wants to see what defense should look like. An absolute defensive masterclass. Something actually, and I liked it. It was a Tyke Byrne moment. He saw the double movement happening. But this is to jump back to the Ireland match. I don't know if you saw. There was a Scottish try. It was the one where their centre straightened up, and she shouldn't, like, it was a wide open gap. She cut straight through,
Mm,
scored. But I could hear the Ireland captain on the comms, and the ref was having none of it. She was asking her,
mm,
could she go back and have a look at how they peeled off the back of them all? Because there was two
mm.
blockers absolutely blocked.
Oh yeah.
Now you'd do it anyway. You'd kind of be there and going, "Error, what am I supposed to do?" But it looked when I scrolled back and I was like, "Oh, that looks very deliberate." And you would do it. You
Mm.
go,
Oh, it is deliberate. But if your momentum is kind of taking you forward, you're almost entitled to it, do you know?
"Yeah,
It's like the changing of direction, changing your running line. Yeah, that's a weird one because what constitutes blocking or not, it actually almost comes
mm,
down to the ref. If they
yeah, yeah, yeah."
one ref might call it one way, another mightn't. But it kind of in a mall, it's difficult because you can kind of just continue your
I
momentum and
suppose
take
what
people
where
with
you
you.
could your argument is, where am I supposed to go when it
Yeah,
peels off? Like, where am I supposed to go? But
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
found out in a brilliant way, and it came like the ball was being swung out behind him, and
yeah,
the out half was taking it behind him. So it
yeah.
was
It
I
was
was but
smart.
I was very glad to hear it being questioned at the very least, and it wasn't just, well, we'll suck it up. Do you know? I was
Yeah, yeah,
glad
yeah.
there was like,
No,
oh,
that's
sorry, can
good.
I have your ear for a second there?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But she questioned her a lot actually as well because there should have been fucking yellow cards. Um, she was asking about like, or sorry, I'm mixing up the two games now. Jesus, I need to sleep a bit more. I actually would think I'm thinking about the UL Bows game where there was loads of penalties inside the 22 against Railway and there was no card. Um, something else I'm going to say to you about the AAL final. No. Anyway, I need to go to sleep because I
Yes, you
actually
do.
need to stop talking about rugby. I actually feel sorry for anybody. I don't know if anybody does this. I feel like there could be a few. But if anybody has listened to all three podcasts, I'm so sorry because there's a lot of shit that I've repeated. I'm obviously allowed to say the F word in this one.
Yes, yeah. Just
Um,
know that the true Anna is here. Just saying,
yeah,
the true Anna is here. You know,
yeah.
the Showtime
For
Anna.
value for
Yeah,
money.
she's with the other one, the Showtime Fancy Dan. But no, there's play Irish player of the tournament. I want to finish on that for you. Standout players can be whatever you want. Who are you gonna pick?
I
Standout player
actually,
and just okay. I'll give you two. New player and standout award. Rock, an absolute rock through the whole thing.
um, I mean, Eve away for hands down, but the value of Dan O'Brien as well. She's fucking
Yeah,
brilliant. Like the whole team is going to be built around her.
ice in her
Um,
veins, absolute ice in her veins for that last kick. Like,
and the boot on her, like just that territory game that we haven't been able to use in a while. All comes back to her. Like I'll give it to Eve away for now because I think I'll be probably picking Dan O'Brien next year, for example.
perfect.
So, like, at least I hope so because do you know, like we say, do you know what the goal is now? The goal is to be fucking beating France next year.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, So that's yeah, we've a fucking long way off yet. And please God, everyone's still
Hey, look
uh
at we thought we were going to be making scones with a wooden spoon this fucking year.
yeah,
Do you know?
yeah, that was definitely a fucking possibility, absolutely.
And we didn't. We ended up in third after beating two people. So, do you know?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, how bad. Listen,
Yep.
you need to get some shut eye, Father Capeless.
Mr. Capeless.
Sister Capeless. Sister Capeless. And you go ahead and mind the rocks.
Oh yeah, mind the rocks.
It's the banana